I call upon Councillor John Merry to move the motion to appoint Councillor Charlie McIntyre to the office of Ceremonial Mayor for the municipal year 2019-2020.
Standing in the naughty corner or anything like that, so we're just trying to fit everybody around the dais. When I asked the Chief Executive and the City Solicitor how long I should speak for, opinions seem to fluctuate between 2 minutes and 6 minutes actually. Most of you lot will probably feel that that's way too long anyway to give me. So I'm going to try and be as concise as I possibly can. But I was delighted to be asked to move Charlie for the office of Ceremonial Mayor. He is somebody who I feel has courage, has integrity, has independence. He's told me a few times that he disagrees with me in no uncertain manner, you'll be pleased to know, and will be upholding the highest standards of this particular city. And he's very proud of this city as well. And I think all of that makes him a particularly good candidate for this role. Of course, Charlie was born to a family of 6 siblings in Ayrshire. And if I could offer advice to some of the council officers, one of the things you might want to brush up on is various phrases, various Scottish phrases, which he's fond of using, which took me quite a while to actually fathom out. One of which is when he told me that he'd put some documents for me in my ducket, and it took me hours to find out that ducket actually meant pigeonhole, right? So just be careful if he uses certain phrases within the council meeting. Charlie was a man of strong religious convictions and served as a Mormon missionary in Manchester. And when it was time to leave, he wanted to do something as well, which continued to put something back into the community. So he tried to enrol for nurse training. Now, in those days, there was a waiting list for nurse training, and it took him a little while to be accepted. But eventually, he qualified as a psychiatric nurse, a registered psychiatric nurse. And I think it's fair to say that he was a huge success as a psychiatric nurse, winning numerous awards and contributing to the NHS. But one of the things, I think this is entirely typical of Charlie during that period, is he discovered he was gay, but what he didn't want to do at the time was cause problems for his family and for the church, and so therefore he returned to Manchester as a place when he felt able to actually carry on without embarrassing either his family or his church. And it's at that period that he actually met Tim. Now I'm going to say a few words about Tim and later in the discussion, which Tim's looking really happy about. But I wanted to say about Charlie that he has the distinction of having served 3 separate wards in this council. He was a member for Odsall, he was a member for Swinton South, until he finally saw the light and came to the People's Republic of Broughton, where he's been happy, well, I hope he's been happy ever since. Right, and one of the things that I really do admire about Charlie is obviously getting a diagnosis of MS is a catastrophic decision for anybody, but he has faced up to it in a way that I can only admire. He's faced up to it with courage and with no small amount of humour. I'll just give you one example of that. Right, those of you who are fans of Doctor Who will remember Davros, who was the evil genius behind the Daleks, who used to wander around in a wheelchair. And on our canvassing trips, Charlie got nicknamed Davros because he was an evil genius in masterminding our great victories in Broughton and then directing us where to go. The only slightly worrying thing about it was that made us all Daleks, of course, which is not something that people necessarily were happy about, but nevertheless, it was an example of how he faced up to the challenge of his particular illness. He is also, I have to tell you this, the most authoritative person on Eurovision that I have ever met. Right, he could tell you the winners of all Eurovision contests and every British entry from the time. If there is someone who is more authoritative on Eurovision, I'm afraid I do not want to meet them. But nevertheless, he has been a person who has run the Eurovision fan club, been heavily involved in it, and I think still enjoys it. I also want to say a few words about how I think he will handle this year. I think it's a bold statement that he's determined to make about the abilities of disabled people to actually take any challenge on and do anything. And I think he's going to be a fantastic role model to all of us in terms of realising what we can achieve. But I think one of the most important things about him is that, and there are people from both political parties I'm sure recognise this, Broughton is a very diverse community. There are people from many different communities. And one of the things that I think is fantastic about Charlie is I can tell you, and you can tell from the people here, he is just as well respected in Spike Island as he is in the area of Northumberland Street, actually where I happen to live. All communities admire Charlie and support what he's doing, and some of the choices of charities such as the Herschel Vice Centre actually reflect that in terms of Charlie's of the people who like Charlie. Now I'm going to say a few words about Tim. I'll say a few words about Tim whether he glares at me or not, actually, because I have to say that I think Tim's going to be a fantastic support as a consort to Charlie. Those of you who are not quite used to Tim might find him a cynical, grumpy old man. I have to tell you, when you get to know him, yes, he is a cynical, grumpy old person, but there's something more to Tim than that. Right, Tim is one of the kindest, nicest people I have actually met, believe it or not. And whilst he will always tell me the truth, he will always help and support me wherever possible. And I think that's a fantastic quality, actually. I don't like people who pretend to me that they're being nice to me. Tim has never pretended that he's been nice to me. He's always pretended he's always wanted to be truthful, but also supportive at the same time. And I'm sure he's going to have the same quality in supporting Charlie. So, summing up Charlie, a man of courage who faces up to difficult situations, a man who everybody can testify is a man of integrity when he holds to his principles, but perhaps to the point of stubbornness sometimes, he will stick to his principles. But he's also, and I think this is an important quality in the mayor, willing to put party politics aside to actually chair the council fairly and to work in accordance with the constitution. All that I would suggest to you makes him a fantastic choice for the next ceremonial mayor of this city, and he will discharge those duties, I am sure, over the next 12 months with the assistance of Tim in a way that makes us extremely proud of this city and of him. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now call upon James King to second the motion and call upon Councillor Karen Greedo to support the motion.
Council, colleagues, invited guests, officers of the council, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me very great pleasure indeed to second the motion that my colleague Councillor Charlie McIntyre be appointed as Ceremonial Mayor for the municipal year 2019-20. And in doing so, I'm absolutely delighted that my fellow cliff dweller will take up the role, this very important role, on behalf of our ancient and indeed noble city. Now, I've no doubt that Charlie will carry out this role with care, diligence and professionalism, as he has done in his role as City Council in 3 different wards, latterly and wisely in Broughton. Now, I should point out that Charlie was a candidate in the very recent local government elections, and his Broughton colleagues were very keen that Charlie should be re-elected, because had he lost his seat, then clearly he wouldn't have had the opportunity to serve as our ceremonial mayor. So I was knocking on doors very recently one evening. It was very, very cold. I was wrapped up in funny hat, gloves, scarf, and an overcoat with my collar turned up. And I knocked on this door, and this constituent said, saw my badge. She says, "I'm not voting this time." I said, "Oh." And that was a fairly familiar refrain, I think, in this election. I campaigned in 4 different constituencies and several wards. And I said, "Well, it's Charlie McIntyre," I said. "He may well be serving on a very, very important job." In that case, I said, "Well, I'll vote for Charlie, but all of the rest are rubbish," she says. So I slinked away, only half pleased. Now, Dennis Healy, a well-known Labour politician and a very shrewd observer of the world and its events, says that everyone should have, including politicians, should have a hinterland. And Charlie, I have to say, has a hinterland, which many of us probably don't know much about, and Councillor Mary has referred to some of those. Charlie studied at Ayr Technical College in Scotland, and for a time he hoped to become an architect. He studied design and so on. He was studying for his Highers, which I think is A-levels, and he then took up an apprenticeship. His first approved drawing was for a garage. Very simple, he thought. Foundation, 4 walls, roof, wide door, maybe a couple of windows. But he forgot to add the damp-proof course. His company was sued for the cost to input the damp-proof course, and that brought Charlie's architectural career to a very sudden end. Charlie then decided to become a Mormon missionary, as Councillor Mary has already alluded to, and he took up a post in the Greater Manchester area for a time. Now, he arrived in Manchester on a very rainy day, and as we know, we occasionally get rains in Salford and Manchester. But he said, "I was not ordained into the Aaronic priesthood," as he broke the Sabbath, which is a very serious thing to do, because he went to a Nolan Sisters concert. The religious authorities were very unhappy about this, and they delayed his ordination for at least 6 months in order to approve his commitment. However, Charlie's rebellious streak showed itself again, because he was challenged to a dare, and it was to wear a kilt instead of his very strict dress code of shirt, tie, suit, black shoes, and all the rest of it. However, the mission president arrived and unannounced and caught him, and he was banished to Barrow Furnace into outer darkness, he described it. So Charlie, after all of this, felt that the religious life probably wasn't for him. So he decided, as we have heard, to study for a registered nurse, and he became a registered nurse, and indeed achieved very many other qualifications in the medical field. But there was a waiting list, and he thought he would improve his work-life skills and so on. Charlie then worked for a while as a cleaner, a salesman selling kitchens for the church, as a barman selling beer and spirits and so on, and as a bingo caller. And I think it was as a bingo caller that prepared him for a life in politics, because that increased his confidence, his speaking in public, his diction, and his voice projection. So as we can see, Charlie has had a very interesting hinterland, as Dennis Healy would say. And I'm very confident there that Charlie and his partner Tim will be excellent ambassadors for Salford and the occasionally rainy, wider Greater Manchester. So I second the motion, colleagues. Thank you very much. Is that all right? That's very much.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, it gives me a great pleasure to support this movement, to move Councillor Charlie McIntyre to the position of Ceremonial Mayor for 2019-20. That's all I need to say, but I definitely think that Charlie deserves a little bit more. So, give me, in good Mystic Meg fashion, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I found out about his horoscope. Charlie was born on the 17th of March, so he's a Pisces. You will all understand when I say that they are all well known for their passion and their spirituality. It goes on to say, the inner workings of his mind is full of philosophy, about questions about philosophy. So when you see him staring off into the distance, in a meeting, no, he's just thinking about the meaning of life, not when is the gin and tonic arriving. Charlie has always displayed great passion and will have a especially strong relationship with those he holds so dear. Always devoting time and effort, as we've heard, to his loved ones. His Christmas cakes are an example of this. I'm still to receive one of these Christmas cakes. Just tell him. Water is also involved in the zodiac sign of Pisces. Water, it says, makes Charlie an excellent communicator, makes him a natural leader, which has led him, I think, into his political career. Charlie has the ability to adapt and change depending on the situation. Well, he will have to have an ability to work with the two people that we've just heard, Councillor Jolly and Councillor Merry. He will need all the care he needs. In friendship and love, Charlie has found his soulmate in Tim, who shares his passion, and everyone can see how happy they are together. The first time I met Tim was he came over to me when I was having difficulty breathing at a count. He said I needed to go and see a doctor, which I did, because he thought I'd got asthma. So you can see, Tim, I have a lot to thank you for, because I hadn't realised that I'd got asthma. I left the following fact until the end, and I quote, Pisces are the natural actors. They have this ability within them to gravitate to the entertainment industries. Politics may be an entertainment. This council chamber often feels like a stage, with all the actors standing up and spouting off about one thing or the other. That is why he looks at home in here. So, taking charge, dressing up and entertaining will make Councillor Charlie McIntyre's year a ceremonial mayor a breeze. So we wish him well and all the very best for the coming year.
I now put the motion to members of the council for confirmations. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just now going to invite the Ceremonial Mayor, Councillor John Merry and Councillor Jim King to retire from the council chamber. For those people who are not used to this ceremony, we'll then be coming back into the chamber and be escorting the Ceremonial Mayor-elect into the council chamber, where we will then invest him into his role. Okay, so now we're going to ask the retiring Ceremonial Mayor, Councillor Ronald Wilson, to invest the Ceremonial Mayor-elect, Councillor Charlie McIntyre, with the chain of office and install him. Please be seated. So can I now ask the retiring Mayoress, Mrs Patricia Wilson, to invest Dr Tim Warden with the chains of office? So I'm now going to ask everybody to stand. I'm going to ask Councillor Charlie McIntyre to make his statutory declaration of acceptance of office and to sign the register.
This one?
It's this one, yeah.
Okay. I, Charlie McIntyre, having been elected to office of Ceremonial Mayor for the City of Salford 1920, declare that I have that office upon myself and will dutifully and faithfully fulfil the duties in accordance with the to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake and observe the code of conduct and expect that is expected of the Mayor of the City of Salford.
So if you just sign on the dotted line there. Well done. And I'm now going to present the Ceremonial Mayor with the mayoral requisition, which is signed by all the councillors in the council. So congratulations,
Thank you.
Mr Mayor. Just need to turn these microphones off. So now the Ceremonial Mayor, Councillor Charlie McIntyre, is going to give his inaugural speech. Please be seated.
You know, when we practice this, I misread the install to be inter, and I finally got used to the fact that I wasn't going to be interred, I was going to be installed. We didn't get to hear what Councillor Merry or Councillor King said outside, but Councillor Merry did tell me he was going to slag off my like for the Eurovision Song Contest, but I bet he never told you through things that Salford has a strange connection with the Eurovision Song Contest, because in 2002 Lithuania had a song that was used as the first pipe music to run through the Lowry Centre in Salford. The group was called Scamp, unfortunately, and they lost, unfortunately. But the Library Centre has gone from success to success. The second attachment to the Eurovision Song Contest was that in 2003, Britain received its first mille fois. But the person who wrote it lived in Grimgate, and he was a member of the Labour Party. And so that's the two connections Councillor King would probably not tell you about. Okay. I think the first thing I have to say is thank you to Tim, my partner, and now my consort, for my year in office as mayor. We have been together for 3 decades, and we first got together at a fundraising appointment in Manchester in Thompson's Bar. It was a fundraiser to raise funds for LGBT in Manchester, and everything has been stemmed from that pub crawl on the night. And it's never been the same since that first bite in Thompson's. And it's something that still plays a huge part in the thoughts I have towards a relationship, because it's a relationship that's built on respect, and respect is something that we have carried with us through the different years that we've been together. And we asked ourselves, well, what is it that keeps us together for that amount of time? And we thought, well, we've got a sense of humour, we use it, and we communicate with each other. It's always a benefit. And we offer enough time for family projects. And the humour that I've mentioned is something that is quite unique in sometimes to some places, to ours. And I'd like to share two of them. One is one used salmon, and the other one is these installs don't fit. So the used salmon, I went home from council and I was absolutely tired, knackered. And we had just come back from holiday as well, and we come straight into the council meeting. And by the time I went home, I decided that I want to continue the holiday, and by making fish soup, I'd be able to do that. So the recipe book that we brought from France, I looked at, and it was really good, and I thought I'd be able to do it. But when I read through the recipe, they suggested that we have one used salmon, and I just didn't know where I'd be able to buy the used salmon. So I kept reading it, I couldn't go to bed because it didn't make sense. Where am I going to find this used salmon? And Tim says to me, Charlie, it's a recipe book, and the person who wrote the recipe is talking to you. Can you see it now? I thought, well, he's telling me I've got to get one used salmon, I don't know where to get it. He went, no. He says, I use salmon, not one. So the other sense of humour, or the other humorous one, is that we were sitting at the breakfast table one day, and Tim had a new pair of shoes, and he wanted to put insoles in these shoes, and he could get them in. And he kept trying, but he couldn't get them into the shoes. And he says, Charlie, I'm going to have to take these back, these don't fit. We tried cutting them because that was in the instructions, and they still wouldn't fit. And I says to Tim, have you tried turning them over so that they fit the shoe? And oh yeah. And so he turned the insoles over, it worked, they fitted, and he was able to put his shoes on. We're both very private people, and we have a restricted number of friends round about us that we value and we cherish. So, for Julie and Tim, Lee, for Kieran and for Hannah, and for Mark and Clemas, and Matthew, particularly Matthew, we have to say, without pushing the point, the Golden Girl quote is, thank you for being our friend. And it's because of that friendship we got to meet Hannah, our beautiful goddaughter. She's up there. And her brother Kieran has turned out to be a fine young man. But thankfully, selfishly, my leaflet distributor to the high-rise flats in Broughton. So thank you for being a friend. I I'd like you to ask yourselves, why did I think it was important to invite you to come to a Mayor's installation? And the one thing that connects everybody here, apart from the council, maybe, as councillors, that's fine, but members of the public, is that on your streets you're active and you share the same goal. You want Salford to be a clean, a tidy and a safe place to live. And it's through your contacting me and telling me the things that are not quite right and being able to thank me for the services that are being provided to you that has made me some way to a halfway decent councillor. So it was important for me to say thank you and also to share the moment that we have in this, and particularly because people like Marvel Road's Primary School Council, and Hannah, and Kieran, and Chesky, this is part of Salford's culture. It's a part of Salford culture that you probably haven't seen before, and it's important that you do, because you are going to be the future of Salford. And so when it comes to being able to sit around the table and talk about what's important, the policies need to make these things happen, and the policies that make, then this is selfish. The policies that allow you then to look after the other residents in Salford is important. So whether you're exercising your vote, whether you're taking part in the council's consultations, and there are many, and whether you are just saying, no, that shouldn't happen, or yes, that should happen, or I'm glad that's happened, it's important that you take that role. I want to say thank you as well to Access All Areas and Salford Disability Forum, because in part, you're the reason that I'm here. Whether it's having your information, your advice service at your signposting events in Irlam, Pendleton and Broughton, it's allowing people to be comfortable with themselves, it's allowing people to know what can be expected of them as human beings, differently disabled or not, but also points them in direction to the places that would help them to achieve that. So again, thank you for doing that for me and people like me in Salford. In terms of my family, I have a big family. So there's Susan, Agnes, Robert, Shuggy, and Brenda. Brenda and Agnes and Rabcar, he's one of the several Rams in the family, are here today, so I'd like to thank them for being here. I believe that my other brothers who couldn't be here are going to be opening a couple of cans and watching this on stream, and they promised they'd open one on my behalf. So, cheers. I know that Mugby Huey is also going to be watching, and he's going to be watching from Australia. So, cheers, Mugby Huey. And we have always been a very close family, and we were a vulnerable family, and I hate that expression, because in what way vulnerable? We couldn't we couldn't get access to the school choir because we couldn't buy the instruments that we could be trained on, but we came from a very loving family that taught us how to respect each other, to respect our neighbours, to respect our classmates, and in that sense we weren't vulnerable. We got free school meals, so we had one meal a day if that was good. We had a £3 chicken to feed us on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it was 8 years, but we managed to get a £3 chicken to be able to feed us. I thought that was good and offered no vulnerability to me at all. So if anybody is making the point that you're a vulnerable person, ask them why you're vulnerable, and get them to define the term vulnerable. It's a horrible phrase, so please don't accept it. And then there's Matthew. Matthew's up there. We have been friends for 33 years. We first met when Matthew was a student nurse at Cheadle Royal Hospital, and I was the staff nurse. So I had priority. But we did share a room. It was called the ECT suite, and we used to like to be in there because it got us off the ward. It got somebody who wasn't interested in listening to what we say, so we used to swap stories about what we were going to do, what we had done. We enjoyed it. And we were both taken under the care of Sister Pauline, who's quite fearsome. She was, or she is, from Jamaica, and you knew when you were making her angry because she'd look over her glasses. That's why the habit has, caught on. But she'd tell you quite clearly, and she'd tell you quite happily at times that you were wrong. And we liked that because we liked that strong motherly guidance, and we appreciated it. The next part of the speech, just before I close, I'd like, if you would, the Chief Executive to use it. It's a very special piece of verse that was given to me 40 years ago now, and I just wanted to share it.
So Ceremonial Mayor's asked me to read this on his behalf, so I will do. I'm sure I won't read it as well as he could, or with his accent, but I'll try my best. It's entitled You'll Never Know, and the author is unknown. You'll never know when someone may catch a dream from you. You never know when a little word or something you might do may open up the window of a mind that seeks the light. The way you live may not matter at all, but you never know, it might. And just in case it could be that another's life through you might possibly change for the better, with a broader and brighter view, it seems it might be worth a try at pointing the way to what's right. Of course, it may not matter at all, but then again, it might.
Every mayor is offered to look at and choose themes that will carry through them the 12 months that they're in office. And I try to select my themes as a human being, and an uncle, and a godparent, and a brother. And I hope in the next 12 months I'll be able to do some of that through the charity work that's going to be led by the mayoral team. Mind in Salford is one of them. You'll find these in the back page of the order of today's service. But Mind in Salford, Proud and Loud Arts, the Herschel Weiss Family and Community Centre, and the Red Box Project. And I think that, in essence, covers me as a person, a professional person, but also a person who enjoys, the good things in life. It allows us to be able to say to the people that we might come into contact with, you're special. You're special too, because you're a human being, and we hope these things are going to be beneficial to you. The Mayor's Handbook, we have a handbook, and we're told that fundraising shouldn't be the core function of being a mayor, and that's fine. I give 12 people who have agreed to be on the mayor's charity board, and that's cross-party as well as old and young, and it's people with similar, if not the same, features as myself. So we're going to be looking then at things like music, poetry, sport, and smaller projects like Sponsored Silences, things like possibly sponsored knitting and I Need a Jumper. The one thing that I remember over the past 12 months is Robert Sharp, Councillor Sharp, I don't know if he's here, but he held a series of mental health awareness classes for councillors, and he asked us at the last event that we should look to colleagues that we might have come in contact with who have influenced our life and influenced the work that we do. And I'd like to just say to Councillor Sharp, thank you for the advice, and that was really good. When other councillors leave the hall, there are ducats. I think Councillor May mentioned what a ducat is, I don't need to explain. You'll find a round to it, and the round to it is, well, you've got it. So tell somebody, how they've made you feel. And, I'd like you to stick to the positive things, but tell them, because it's very, very important. And I'd just like to thank my friend Mark, who made these round tuits. And, if you get them and you see them and they make sense to you, you'll appreciate their value. I give thanks to everybody that's been here, and in particular to Councillor Wilson and Mrs Wilson, who have exercised the position of Mayor and Mayoress over the past 12 months. And they have been an example to all of us because of the commitments, the diligence and the humility that they have shown over 12 months. So I'd just like to thank them because, that's been really good to witness. It's good to experience. I hope, I can show the same commitment, the same diligence as they have done, although I admit I'm not going to have the same strength as you, Councillor Wilson, but I'll do everything I can to respect the office and be able to put forward to the people of Salford something really positive about the mayoralship, but also the city as a global city. And I hope that at the end of the 12 months I can also be able to be respected and valued for the things that I've done as you are. So thank you for that. Going straight on to the next agenda item, number 11, I'd like to call in Councillor Stephen Hesling to move the motion of thanks to the outgoing Mayor, Councillor Wilson, and the Mayoress, Pat Wilson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and really I just want to start by also adding my congratulations to you on your appointment as Ceremonial Mayor. I think we've had some really interesting speeches this afternoon and very thoughtful ones, particularly the one that you've just given. And I think when we look at politics now, and it's not always giving people the answers they want. Actually, I hope from today people can take something positive out about the next 12 months, that you're going to be the figurehead of our city. I think you're going to do us a great job, so I'm really looking forward to it. But it gives me a great pleasure to move the motion in thanking Ronnie and Pat for the work they've done this year. It seems only like last month that I was stood here moving Ronnie to be the Mayor and Mayoress, and it certainly goes very quickly. And they've both done a sterling job for the city over the last 12 months. They've enjoyed the role, I know that, and have met so many dignitaries and local people as they've been going round, all the different people that they've been supporting. They've also raised over £20,000 for the Mayor's charity, which, as we remember, is the Salford by the Sea, the birthing unit, and also Singing with Dementia. All those charities I know have been really appreciative of the work they've done. And I think particularly, when they've met with the young people in our city, it's really important that the Mayor's getting out, involving our young people, teaching them about politics and how we can bring up those next generations. And just to finish, really, I'd like to welcome them back to being councillors in Weast, and it'd be great to be working together with Madeline, our new council colleague, and look forward to catching up with you both soon again and having a drink and getting on with the work that we've got to do in Weast. Thanks very much.
I'd now like to call Councillor Jim King, who I believe is seconding the motion.
Chair of the Council, I nearly said Charlie, but I have to respect you in your new and very honourable role for the next 12 months, but then it'll be back to normal after that, Charlie. I'm absolutely delighted to second the motion of thanks to Ronnie and Pat Wilson for the excellent job they've carried out as our representative of the city. They attended numerous events and activities for the past 12 months. They both, of course, had their own careers prior to this and were well able to engage with the many people from all walks of life that they met throughout the 12 months and in this very diverse city of ours, population of nearly 250,000 people now. It's often said that when we elect a ceremonial mayor or a mayor, before we became ceremonial mayors, you get two for the price of one, because you get the ceremonial mayor and you get the mayoress or consort. In Pat and Ronnie's case, because normally the mayor, ceremonial mayor, will also appoint a chaplain. In Ronnie and Pat's case, we had ceremonial mayor, mayoress, and the chaplain, all three positions rolled into one. And Pat started off our proceedings with a prayer for the past 12 months, as we all know. So I'm sure that they now feel that they are open to a very welcome rest, and I'm sure that that is the case. And I hope that you will have time to have a bit of a break before you get into the constituency work and the ward work, which Councillor Hessling has mentioned. And well done on raising £20,000, which is a fabulous sum. And that, of course, will go to the good causes that you mentioned. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of the City Council, and indeed on behalf of the City, for the excellent work that you have done. And while you're having your rest period, you might decide to write a book on your experiences. Thank you very much.
I'd now like to invite Councillor Mrs. Garrido, who would also like to support the motion, I believe. Councillor Mrs. Garrido.
Thank you, Esther. I stand here to say thank you to the past mayor and mayoress for the unstinting way that you have carried out your civic duties over the last year. You have proved yourself as a devoted Salfordians and proved throughout the year that you are also a good friend to the people of Salford. With the money you have raised for your charities, this will go a long way to helping those charities survive. Everywhere you have been, people have warmed to your kindness and have made it very clear that you have represented the city well. Can I thank you, Pat, for leading our prayers at every council meeting? They were very thoughtful and very considerate prayers. I know that it's been a busy year for you both, and I know it's been a little bit difficult as well. But thank you very much from everybody within Salford, and I hope you can now look forward to a well-deserved rest. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask all those present to... I'm just trying to find my place. I can't say.
It's just putting the motion
There
to
you
the
go.
members of the council.
I'd like to put the motion to the members of the council and ask them to accept the thanks and join in the thanks to Councillor and Mrs. Wilson. The retired ceremonial mayor, Councillor Wilson, will stand and make his valedictory address. I'm not going to intern you.
Yeah, yes.
First of all, I'd like to say a huge thank you for the great 2 years we have enjoyed. It's It's been busy 2 years, and we've also very much enjoyed it. It's been a huge privilege and honour to present our great city, and has been humbling at times, meeting with international people and welcoming new citizens of our country and our city, who are truly what makes Salford great. One of our early events was in Winton, the Black History. We went there, and when we got there, how many people we knew, if that were considered our friends, and I've seen them since then. It has been, to be immersed in the community has been a dream come true, because we've always worked in the community and will continue. Even while I've been mayor, if I was available, I collected food from a food bank and delivered it to another food bank. And I do intend to continue with that when I am available, usually 2 or 3 times a week. I'll try, certainly in the past, 2 or 3 times a week, we do it quite early, so if I come to a council meeting, I may in time. We've seen firsthand the amazing progress of Salford Royal Hospital and the dedicated and hard-working staff, in particular the wonderful stroke unit, saving lives and quality of life, and the working of the multi-faith groups. Salford is a truly diverse society, which is rich in diversity, culture and skill mix. In these troubled times, it was comforting to see that despite our differences, we came together, and when we got to know these groups, how much we had in common. We visited a mosque just hours after the Christchurch attack, and we thought would go, well, it passed through our minds, we'll still go. When we went, we were warmly greeted for turning up. We thought there was no choice, because when these thugs do this harm to our society, we have to continue, otherwise they have won. And put together, we're so much stronger as we joined in love and prayer and ate together, remembering that Jews, Muslims and Christians all worship the same God. So we had a lot more in common. We have a most wonderful experience for meeting of the great centre workers who gave extra mile for our city, to meeting folk on mission to improve our citizens and residents' quality of life. There were the nursery children who were actually going on these visits to various buildings and going across, and all these very small nursery children saw us, saw the chains, originally recognised us. They were so excited, we went walking towards them as they were running towards us. And they were told us that they'd been bringing nappies for the nappies that were stolen. I think it was in Vorton, to replace the stolen ones. The primary school children who cleaned up St. Peter's Church just across the road, grounds for a wedding they didn't even know. The army of volunteers in clubs, the young and not so young, lunch clubs, care groups and support groups, all unsung heroes. I will leave you with the most inspirational and moving story we have heard at Manchester Cathedral in Black History Month. We're walking into the cathedral and there was a chap who was on blades, and I thought, he's moving fast, because we were trying to keep up with him as we're going in. A young African man who originally wasn't from this country but joined the army when he came over, joined the army and served at Amsterdam. He only remembers waking up in hospital with his wife by his bedside and telling him he had lost both legs and an arm in an explosion. When I think about that, I'm almost tearful, though that we spoke to him for quite a while. He told us he was distraught and didn't know what to do, and then thought, I'll have to get over this and care for my young family. His young family were with him, and I think the children were less than about 5 at the maximum. He had physio. I was given blades to help him walk. Walk wasn't the word. He was almost running. And then met Prince Harry and then entered the Juventus Games and won a medal. This turned his whole life around. There wasn't a dry eye in the building as the whole assembly rose to their feet applauding this inspirational man. This is just a snapshot of our experiences, but the last years will leave a mark on our lives and hearts forever. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to call on Councillor David Jolly to move a motion to appoint Councillor John Mullen as to the office of Deputy Ceremonial Mayor for the year 2019-2020. Councillor Jolly.
Thank you. Yes, it gives me great pleasure to move this motion to appoint my Barton Ward colleague, Councillor John Mullen, to the office of Deputy Ceremonial Mayor for the coming municipal year. And just to say briefly, I've never served as mayor or deputy myself, but those who have tell me that the period of these 2 years are fulfilling, enjoyable, extremely busy and extremely tiring. So that, John, is what you've got to look forward to for the next couple of years, but I'm sure that you will fulfil those duties with the greatest of credit, and so with that I so move.
I'd like to call Councillor Michelle Barnes to second the motion. Councillor Barnes.
I'm delighted to support John with the motion too, and I'd like to second that. Thank you.
I'd now like to call Councillor Karen Garrido once again, who I believe is going to support the motion. Councillor Garrido.
I'm a supporting act today, so can I say how pleased I am to support the nomination of Councillor John Mullen as Deputy Ceremonial Mayor. John, I hope you will let me call you a friend. As we sat on a number of committees together over the years, at one of these meetings we were sat at was when he received the question, would he like to be the Deputy Ceremonial Mayor? I have to say, if has anybody seen anybody who's delighted, they should have seen John on that afternoon. He was like the cat who'd got the cream. And we're all going, what is it? What is it? What's wrong? You know, what's happened? And he said, they've asked me to be Deputy Ceremonial Mayor. Congratulations. It's absolutely fantastic. And I would like to say at this stage, because I've not had a chance to do it formally, right, a big thank you for all the great events that you actually held for me when I was the Ceremonial Mayor. They were absolutely unbelievable. When you have to dress up as goss and goodness knows what, right? And if none of you have been to these events, don't, whatever you do, miss the next one, because they are absolutely fantastic. So have a great year, and here's looking forward to you being the mayor.
Thank you. I'd like to put the motion to the members of the council now for agreement to the motion that Councillor John Mullen should be the
Deputy Ceremonial Mayor for the year 2019-2020. All those that say yeah. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for coming and sharing this moment with us. And I declare the meeting closed.